You've got to make an impact with your business and tie that together with a global movement. And man, you've got something special. I gave this presentation that you will see in this video to the amazing community at Voyageur U. Check out their community on LinkedIn down in the comments below. And I would love to see you there and join us in. In this presentation, I'm talking all about impact marketing and how you as a business owner can use marketing to make an impact.
Hello, good afternoon. Happy office hours, everybody. It's Dave Meyer with BusyWeb, and I'm representing John at Voyageur U, who is in Mexico today. The son of a gun. I can't believe he's getting lots of good sun for us, but he'll bring some back home for us, and it'll be nice and warm when we get here. Wanted to introduce everyone to Billy Fetzer, and Billy is going to be talking to us about impact marketing today. So we're super excited to meet him and to get some more details about what he's up to. So basically, just a little intro into Billy. Billy's an entrepreneur, marketing strategist, and coach, working to make the world a greener place by helping small green business owners grow their online presence and authority. Lasting relationships aren't built in a day, and he teaches entrepreneurs how to build trust and rapport with their audiences to facilitate strong business relationships. Billy, take it away and welcome to everyone here.
Thank you so much, Dave. I appreciate it. Let me share my screen here. Sweet.
And while we get that part started, I'll remind everyone that we will be opening up the phone lines, so to speak, shortly. So if you have questions, go ahead and log them in chat and we'll keep them going. But we'll also give everybody a chance to talk at about 35 or so. So, all right, Billy, have at it. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Sure. Yeah, sounds good. So today I'm talking about impact marketing, about how to communicate your impact to not only your prospects, but also aligning that message to the global movement that you are part of. And so what I really want you to take a step back and think about is, what is your mission? So what is your mission for your business? What is your mission personally? And do you strive to make an impact? With COVID, what happened, we had to go through this time period where we all got the chance to reflect on what we were doing and how we can have more of an impact, more of an influence, and do more meaningful work, because it forced us to pivot. It forced us to make a change in what we were doing. So now we are looking at, okay, how can we make an impact? And so many companies are started this way. That's the entrepreneurial drive, is to make an impact in some way. And so with doing that, with the people that I work with, their goal is really to make an impact on the planet. So they are really focused on climate change. Climate change is part and parcel of what they do. They are committed to their work through making a difference through climate change. And I bring that up because it comes through in their marketing, in the messages that they send, and the posts that they put up on social media. And they have to communicate that effectively to their prospects about how they are aligned with the global movement of the climate crisis, and how they are fighting against it. And also effectively communicate that message to people at large, and letting them know that, hey, we are working towards this movement to make the world a greener place, to make the world better, and allow us to get out of this climate crisis, right? So it's really this dual message. They have to also be focused on not only their prospects and messaging to them and letting them know how they can help them, but also that they are aligned with this global movement. And what I got to really do is I was able to interview 17 different green companies, and they all have their unique way of fighting against climate change. And they were in various fields like green energy. They were in plastic recycling. So whether they were recycling plastics that came from the ocean and collecting them, or doing special chemical manufacturing to break down the plastic to reuse that again, or just working to use bioplastics instead. So lots of different bio and plastic recycling companies. and then some bioremediation companies where they were going out and fixing the environment and removing harmful chemicals from the soils, and then also some companies in the circular economy. And the circular economy is that idea that right now we live in a linear economy where we go out and collect resources, use them, and then throw them all away. Well, in the circular economy, we collect resources, we use them, and then go out and recollect them at the end of their life to make that circle and come around. And I'll actually be highlighting a post from a circular economy company called the Rubbish Project later in this presentation. And so when I was conducting these interviews, what I found was there was these two common themes that about how they were handling their social media marketing for their company. And one of those themes that I realized was that they were using that to build their thought leadership, to really allow them to show how they know about the topic they're working towards, what they're doing, and that they are really, that person with authority who knows what they're talking about. And this was something that I expected. I social media is a great place to be able to do this. But what I also found, what was really interesting was that and it really has become the topic of this whole talk, is that there's this dual audience. They are not only talking to their prospects, but they're also talking to the population at large, on everyone in this global movement or on the sidelines who might be on the fence about this global movement and what they can actually do. And these companies were using their messaging to target both their prospects and this global movement at large. And so, this is, lots of businesses are targeting multiple audiences. You have different products that you're selling to different audiences with different messaging, or you have one product that you are messaging two different types to two different audiences. And, those things are nothing new, but what was interesting, what I found fascinating, was that their messaging really had to hit multiple audiences, not because of their product and not because of the audiences, but because of this mission to make the world a greener place. And so it was really this mission of trying to, align themselves with the global movement of the climate crisis, which I found very, very interesting. And, mission is something that's very important for all businesses. And it has been put in several different blog posts and articles online. I mean, lots of different places online are showing how important it is to have a mission-driven company, because you have lots of benefits. You can have more engaged employees, a more passionate audience, an audience who cares, willing to pay higher prices, employees willing to work for less, all these types of things, very beneficial for your company. However, the companies that I was working with and where I was talking to, that's not why. That's not why they were having this mission, having this mission as part of their business. That's not why, but the mission was really what formed their business, right? Their mission to go out and make the world a greener place by doing this stuff, because they saw this problem and they said, how can I answer it? And they really answered that call, and they really live this, they live it day in and day out. And so they didn't go on Google searching and saying, oh, how could I make mission a part of my business? No, that was the whole point of why they built their business. And, so what can happen? What can happen when you have a business that depends so much on your mission that is making this societal change or this global movement? And what you can get is a really massive amount of passion and dedication to your business. And so that's awesome. That's great. You got this mission and you can make a difference and really stir up change. But how do you cultivate that, right? How do you get people to understand exactly what you do and how you aim to fix the problem you're aiming to fix? And it all comes back to that messaging, making sure that they are saying things in such a way that connects with people and really gets down to the core of what they're feeling and answers it. And even if they don't know that they're feeling that way, and they say that they want one thing, but then you start working with them and you figure out they actually want something completely different. And that really fascinates me and is amazing to me, because, a great business owner will go out there, do some market research the market as a whole, the competition in the marketplace, even talk to potential customers. But what they realize when they're talking to them, is that they don't even know what they really want. And so you consider this classic quote by Henry Ford, and he says, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have asked for a faster horse. So you really have to know your audience better than they know themselves to know what they want more than they do. And great business owners not only know their audience's problems, but they know how to fix them and solve them. And however, one hiccup that some business owners face is when telling their audience about the problem that they solve, is that they're trying to talk to them as if they are not at step 1, which is where they're at, but they talk to them as if they're at step 5. And so this is where their messaging comes across, but that's not where it needs to come. It needs to come back here at step 1, and then lead them through many different messages along the way, all along that client journey, so that they're really understanding how they need to come to the point that you're at and how they can really join you along that journey. And what you find as you are leading them along is that you're really able to build that thought leadership, build that authority, and so that people learn how to trust you and really begin to understand where you're coming from and what the purpose of what you're doing is.
Billy, is that part of the messaging and the consulting that you do, is to bring people from step 5 back to step 1 so that they can draw people into the communication?
Yes.
Excellent.
Definitely.
Excellent. Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. And so, social media, it's also great for that, as a great way to really be able to build people along. And one of the companies that I interviewed, they had this really great post where they were able to bring in, several parts of being able to say how they were educating their prospects on what they do about being a thought leader in this area of the circular economy, and really being able to show, like, hey, this is an example of, this is not a good example of sustainability for a company. So they were not only just able to show their prospects, like, hey, they know what they're talking about, lead them along that journey, but they were also able to really show to the audience at large that, this is who they are, and they're not just talking to their prospects, who are these guys, but they're talking to the audience too. So what happens here is you've got this messaging that comes across and it's able to target their prospects, but then it's also able to talk to the audience as well. And that leads back because they can go out and say, oh, it's going to make them influence their buying decisions and ultimately influence his prospects. And so really it comes back and benefits him in the end as well. And, you've also heard that, when you're selling to people, when you're selling to businesses, you're also selling to people. But there's another piece within that, is that you have to think of the end user, right? You have to think about how you're not just marketing to that prospect, but how is what you're doing for that prospect going to be beneficial to the end user at the end? And, you're not going to have an amazing post like the one that I highlighted before by the circular economy company every single day, but it's being able to really capture that ability to reach that dual audience. And that's what, the people that I was interviewing were able to do, was that they were not only just being able to message to their prospects, really get along and align with the whole movement. And they really have this obligation to share what they're doing and how they're making a difference for the general public at large. And social media is a great place for that. But, it's so natural for so many of these companies to do, but there needs to be a strategy behind it, because you can't just go out there and post. You can't just share. You can't just comment on things, about what you're passionate about and your values. I mean, those are great to do, but you also have to have a strategy behind it. You have to make sure that you're getting in front of the right people, and you can have a wholehearted approach that's going to be able to be well-rounded and be able to reach those perfect prospects and your audience. And see, that's, what I do is I'm able to go out there and help these companies engage with that audience and really strategically build their authority and then expand it, because you not only have to find that perfect prospect, you also have to be able to use those awesome posts that we've been talking about and really get it in front of them where they can see it. And so I really help these companies go out on LinkedIn, nurture those prospects into phone calls and appointments through content and targeted messaging.
Excellent. Cool.
And it's also really about building that authority, because you need more than just a few posts, because nobody's going to convert somebody right off of a post. You really have to build that audience and get in front of the right people.
Mhm.
So what I really want to leave everybody with today is just that, it's not just about your audience, but it's about your prospects audience as well. And even if you're not in a B2B setting, you're more of a B2C company, it's about those people who are going to influence those perfect prospects, those perfect customers that are in, who you want to be in part of your business. You also have to think about that next layer. Who is influencing them? Because that's going to be really important for how your messaging comes across and how you can communicate effectively.
Yeah, excellent. We've got some questions already and some comments.
Sure.
Or actually, I should say Molly had a comment in, and she was talking. We were talking back about the step 5 versus step 1, and how to engage people where they are. And
right.
Molly says that she just joined a nonprofit board last week, and she's taking this in as she's wearing the hat of a board member and as a marketer who works with diverse clients. So this is really, I think, especially for mission-based companies, right? And and I love that you're in the green space and helping out companies along this end. But there's lots of things that people feel truly passionate about, and depending on who you are, maybe not all of the people that you're going to be talking to or engaging are going to be even on the same page as you, right? So that we're in kind of a polarized society. So I think the question that I want to start with is knowing your position and how you're engaging with customers, right? Realizing that you need to bring them along on the trail to get them engaged with you. How do you handle the folks that are outside of that circle of influence, or maybe who disagree? Because I would guess, especially in the green movement, you want everybody to start thinking greener, not just the folks that are already on the eco bus, or the electric VW eco bus, right?
Right, exactly. Well, you really have to find out, those values, what they do value, and help them realize that those things are, part of our benefits to what happens because of the climate crisis and global movement and what we're working towards. It's not just about, they might have certain ideas about how it works, and you really find common lines and common themes about how we really do have similar views on certain points, and it's not just all put in one camp. So you really have to figure out where they are, and that actually might be a really, really beneficial thing, to be able to go out and talk to those people who are very opposed or against it in some way, just because you can get really good feedback about how you can effectively convince them that they should be more in this camp. So
and and I know that you make LinkedIn engagement a massive part of what you do for your customers. Are there some tools that you use to identify affinity groups, or how are you finding folks to help engage that are both on that side, but then also the folks that might not be there that you want to pull toward your point of view?
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with the comments within posts, which is so key, because when somebody goes out and posts, you might have this huge influencer who has 100 comments on it, right, or something like that. And those are great to post on sometimes, because you can get a lot of different people from far-ranging kind of backgrounds. But you can also get a really good, highly engaged conversation going from somebody with a smaller following and just a very engaging post. And when you're able to do that, you can really, start a conversation within those posts and within those comments, and then take it off into direct messaging or go further from there. But it's really being able to nurture that messaging system up there. So it's
Is that, and I apologize if I'm getting too technical, but
no, you're fine.
Are you kind of zooming in or focusing on hashtags at that point? Is that one of the search methods, especially in LinkedIn, right? So is, you know, what I think I published up when I just posted the event, a reminder of the event, I did like 6 hashtags on what I figured people might be searching for on a Friday afternoon, right? Is that kind of the same?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely use that as part of the search messaging, and you know, looking into, you know, even further into groups. If you wanted to go into some of the LinkedIn groups, there are some more engaged LinkedIn groups. Not all of them, but there are some out there. Being able to see there where you can message people, and LinkedIn groups are great as well, because you can really you don't, there's no limit on the messaging there, so it makes it a lot easier to be able to connect with people in that way. So
well, and I think at least half of the folks that are on the chat today are members of the Voyageur U community, and that's where I published the reminder to right at the end, so right before we joined. So I actually want to open up the conversation now to let people start engaging us in conversation and asking Billy what he's doing. So if it's cool, I'd like to just, fair warning, as we do every week, I'm going to turn on the things. If you've got your microphone muted and you don't want to talk, that's cool. If you do want to talk, we'd love to hear from you. And this is a chance to really get a hold and ask real questions of someone who's making it a living to make real change using LinkedIn and social engagement. So I'm going to turn everybody on. So here we go.
Sweet.
And let's go here. This is always kind of...
Do you want me to stop sharing? Or
if you want, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, if you have stuff that you want to keep sharing, that's cool. But I know that we're going to get some good engagement here from folks, because there's a lot that goes into this, you know, and I love getting nerdy about, you know, like how to find affinity groups and how to connect directly with folks. And I love the idea of finding the right message. And part of the concern that I know some folks have is, how do I connect and find people like me, right? And the danger, if you focus too much on people like you, is that there's also the echo bubble that we're seeing, especially on LinkedIn, or not on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Whereas like, oh, well, I click on a puppy picture or something, and all of a sudden Facebook is showing me all kinds of dog things, even though I don't even have a dog. And then, you know, pretty soon you're thinking that the entire world is made up of dogs and people that love flea collars or whatever, right? And that, insert your personal political opinion here.
Topic, right.
I'm pretty diametrically opposed to some of my family members as far as politics, and that's a big reason behind that. So, you know, trying to break that bubble, that model, and get to center and get engagement is fascinating to me.
Yeah, and you know, it's really interesting. You know, the way that they've set up these algorithms is thinking that, oh, because you've, you know, looked at it so many times, or because, you know, they're trying to find the best way, but of recommending the best content to you that relates to what you've looked at before and commented on before and all those things. But the thing is it's not like, as human beings, we don't always we're not always making optimal decisions, right? So we're not always going out there and clicking on something because that is something we're uber passionate about, right? But these algorithms think, oh, you clicked on it, you must be uber passionate about it, right? And it's like, not really. Like, you know, I might have clicked on it because, oops, I was scrolling and it accidentally tapped, right? Like, or something like that. So it's like, you know, you really it's these issues that are still within the algorithms out there, is that it's not, they're not perfect recommendation systems. It's still got a ways to grow in terms of being able to actually give us, you know, the best content possible. And so and then that's the thing too, is like, especially with, you know, they do that out on Google as well. So like, even your searches, you start searching for things, and then you can't do extremely good research because the search results that are opposing views that you need to understand,
Right.
in order to do sufficient research, they don't show them to you. They'll be, way down on page 3 and you'll never get there. And so you think that, oh, everybody's just talking the same way I am. And that's great. And our in terms of our behavior and our decision making with our brains, what we think when we see things enough times, we think that that is how it always is, and that's just like the way it works. Where that's just not true. Just like a lot of crime rates have gone way down across the country, but because of the fact that news reports come out constantly, people are more likely to try to keep their kids closer to home, and they're so worried about letting their kids off when crime rates have either been the same exact thing or decreased since the times they were kids and they were allowed to go down the street and over to Bobby's house a mile away, and nowadays, that's not allowed. So it's very it's very interesting how these algorithms and constant messages of what they think is right for us has an influence on our lives.
Well, and like Molly just commented in. Molly, feel free to chat if you want, but she got a quote from one of her clients. I've Googled our business and we're number 1. And of course you should be. If you're searching for your business, if you're not showing up number 1, I mean, there's something wrong.
That's a problem.
So,
I hate to break it to them because I'm like, I look like a rock star if they're like, oh, we're number 1. And I'm like, yeah. And then I hesitate. I'm like, oh, here's how this really works.
Right.
Right.
And so, that's actually one of the killer tips that we can probably tell folks, if you're wondering if your bubble is getting in the way, or if your search optimization is getting in the way, using incognito mode or privacy mode in depending on the browser that you're in, that'll remove most of the identifiers so that you can see what the rest of the world probably sees your messaging like. So, or I don't think Hide My Ass is available anymore, but that was a service that you used to be able to just go to hidemyass.com and search in a Google search, and it would completely remove and put you like in a completely different part of the country so that you could see if you're actually showing up.
Yeah.
But
that's good.
I'm
sure they still have that.
Oh yeah.
So I have a question. It's Lisa. Hi, Billy.
Hey, Lisa.
Hi. So going back to, and I think Dave liked the slide, the one I did as well, where you follow the guy going back to, step 1. And the Rubberish project, they had that impactful post on Alaskan Airlines and stuff. So when they did that, can you talk to how that even though that was impactful, how that works? Explain a little bit more of the process of how that works with your business and can equate to sales generation and then posting on the other side of the equation. So how that can interact and how those two can migrate together to form a more complete package.
Yeah, definitely. So especially with his post, what he was able to do is he was able to really communicate that thought leadership on he knows the types of products out there. He knows the products out there that are sustainable for a business. He's able to say, like, when you make this choice, it's actually not sustainable. You're trying to convince people that it is sustainable, but it's not. And showing that, he's really able to say that, this is he knows his stuff. He knows what he's talking about. He's able to, convince people and really lead them along that journey. Like, hey, like maybe we should be thinking about really digging into what we think is the right thing to do, right? So maybe we should, for this post, he was saying that Alaskan Airlines switched from bottled water to boxed water. And bottled water can be 100% recycled, whereas if you use the right bottles, and whereas the boxed water has liners in it because boxes are made of cardboard. And what does cardboard do when it gets wet? It it doesn't do well. And so they have to have liners in it and all sorts of stuff. So it's actually worse because they have to go out and collect these metals and all these other things to line the box to make it able to hold water. And then at the end of that, they just have to throw that away. Like, okay, maybe the box will decompose, but then you still took all of that energy and all those resources to build the box, and you can't use it over again at the end. You can't bring it back into your circle. Whereas if you use the bottled water with the plastic bottle, you can actually take that at the end, you can recycle it, and in most cases you can get a good percentage of that back right into the system and bring that along. And so really what he's showing there is that leadership, like, okay, we really have to think about these things. We can't just like say, oh, plastic is bad, and then, oh, we're making this choice for non-plastic things, and that's going to be great for our company. And so that's what he's really able to show, is that you can use this thought leadership to really lead people along that journey and be able to then allow them to engage and they'll to talk with him so that they can learn more about how they can become more sustainable and make more sustainable choices. So
right. And then to Dave's point too, that sort of that impactful post brings in other players, brings in some people that might not are not quite green as well. It introduces other, posting something like that could bring in other people that might not be engaged in the atmosphere as well. It can bring in a lot of different interests from a lot of different areas, I believe.
Yeah. And this is all super fun. And I know I've been seeing some chat in the back end. I know Nigel has some anecdotes that he'd love to share. This is also the point where I usually encourage anyone, if you'd like to be part of the video chat with us as well, go ahead and let us know. And it's really probably the easiest way would be to just raise your hand. So Nigel, if you want to have me promote you up as a panelist, by all means. Yep, looks like I'm going to be promoting Nigel up, but anybody else wants to be on the video chat with us as well. Yeah, this is cool stuff. I mean, this is nerdy, marketing nerdy, engaging, like how to really get people to help with what you are looking for, and how to, especially around cause marketing. And it's fun when you actually care about what you do for a living. And I'm sure that's a big part of the charge that you get, Billy and Lisa, working with your company. So I'm going to, Nigel, I'll promote you up. And actually what happens when I promote is you bump out for a second and then you bump right back in as panelist. So just fair warning. But anybody else that wants to join, by all means, go ahead and raise your hand and I will promote you up to a panelist as well. All right, so Nigel's rejoining as panelist. We'll be able to see him from across the pond in the UK as well. All right, and welcome to Sia and Tony as well. And we're doing all kinds of fun stuff today. So by all means, feel free to pile on. I know Tom's got a bunch of sales examples and Adam's got training examples that he can share on causes and how to make these work. Hey, Nigel, how are you?
I'm fine. It's been very exciting this week because we've actually been allowed out of our offices and actually to go to networking events.
Hallelujah.
And so I've actually been shaking hands with people. This hand has shaken other people's hands for the first time in 2 years.
Hey, there you go.
It's so exciting. You just don't believe how exciting it is. Anyway, and there was some good food there as well, so that's another bonus. Really interesting what you're saying. I mean, I'm sorry to ask you this question, Billy, and you can refuse to answer it if you want to. What year were you born?
I was born in 93.
Yeah, I thought so. Right, I've written a few things down here. I started getting involved with the internet back in probably about 95, 96. The first time I used the internet, I'll rephrase that. The first time I used the internet was 1977 when I sent a digital document from Swansea University to the University of California via JNet, which was the
Nice.
yeah. So I've been around a long time. It took 8 hours to send one A4 sheet of text.
Oh,
8 hours. Okay.
Wow.
And invariably there'd be a click or some sort of spike on the transatlantic line, telephone line,
Right.
and it would crash out. So I get into the office the following morning, and all I'd get was a cancellation. I'd have to start all over again. So
Oh,
it's
no.
moved a long way since then. And I've seen all the changes that have come through. Once it became commercial, Tim Berners-Lee introduced HTML back in 91, 92, just before you were born. It opened it up to the opportunities of commercialization and for commercial purposes, and everyone can get involved with it. 1998, wonderful year. Google appeared on the internet, and it was absolutely brilliant. But my wife, who was building websites at the time and had been, she built her first website in 95. She was one of the leading web design companies in Wales at the time, and there's only 2 of them. She was getting contracts with the government, charging stupid amounts of money to build a website because nobody knew how to do it. But she was complaining to me, saying that her clients didn't know, her clients were complaining that they couldn't be found on this newfangled Google search engine thing. So she said, you know a little bit about marketing, even though I was an electronics engineer and a production engineer. I marketing was something I was just interested in. And it was funny because I started looking into it, and there was nothing in the world on the internet to be able to find how you could get in there. You could register, you could put it up, and then it was just sod's law. But the interesting thing was I'd started getting some information coming over from the States about how to optimize your website so that the search engines would put you in the top. And the sector that was followed, and I hope I don't offend anyone here now, but the sector that was followed was the porn industry. Because literally you could type anything in 99, you could type anything into Google, and the first 10 slots were all porn channels. Okay, or porn websites. And porn made the internet. Yeah, I like that. Thanks, Molly. It was, and so I had to, for research purposes, look at those sort of sites to find out what was going on. And I realized that they were manipulating the search engine. And then Google, and basically what they were doing was putting every word that somebody would type in they could think of with a white text on a white background. And that was the first algorithm that Google introduced. Anything with a white text on a white background, so you couldn't see it as a viewer, but it was all buried underneath. Okay, and that was the first one. Wait, that's not good to do. I know it's not good to do now. You don't do it now. But that was the first correction they put in. And ever since, there's been a battle going on between the search engine optimizers and the search engines to try and get the right information in front of people. And now we see that the actual internet, the browser people, like Google and Yahoo and all the others, they are manipulating the way that stuff is being presented. So it's still a constant battle, but it's for different reasons now. I'm not going to dig into that.
But what's fascinating, Nigel, is Google, for all intents and purposes, Google's job is to give you the results that you're looking for. And above my head, right here, you can kind of see a logo that might or not be Google. I'm a presenter and I'm a speaker for Google, and so
I know that.
I get trained much more on what I can't say versus what I can. And there was actually a special event, the first time Google's ever done this week, where they talked about how to optimize your website to get found, like from a Google employee that's in charge of the web team. The web search team, and they went through. And as they were going, I'm going to share this with just my group of friends here. And I started adding a few comments as they were talking, and I got a call from my boss, and she said, do not speak at all. Get offline. Don't chat, because we have no comment other than what they're actually saying, because this is the secret sauce. Right. So Google is very careful about what they talk about. and how they work. And it's for a good reason, right? Because it's the same mentality that had people putting white text on white background to try and fool Google into this. And as a matter of fact, if you search for SEO, you're going to find more results than I think there are pages on the web otherwise. And it's all so much craziness. Molly, I'll send you a link to the video because it was fascinating. And actually, if anybody else wants it, I can look through it and I can post it in the chat here. But you know, it goes directly back to what Billy was saying. You know, it's our job, especially when you're doing cause marketing, but also when you're trying to do marketing at any level. You're trying to win people over. You're trying to influence their actions, their decisions, to get them to do something. A lot of times for businesses, that's buying something. But for us, sharing our knowledge in a way that's findable and engaging and connecting is the art of marketing.
Yeah.
And so, you know, what do you got to do for that? It's always changing. And when people ask me, you know, how do you keep up with this stuff? It's like, you just have to be a professional tinkerer. You got to be willing to mess around with it and play and have fun. If you hate the web, if you hate social media, you're not going to be very successful, or at least have any fun in marketing.
Right.
Sorry, Billy. This is the part I was getting over to. But there's two ways to get people to your website, to your digital assets. And also through your digital assets to the shop or your premises. One is through search engine optimization. The other way, which is much more effective these days, is through conversations. It's through content. It's through thought leadership, as you said, Billy. And it's about getting the right message in front of the right people and understanding them. And this is the whole thing about the discussion I had last night on USA Manufacturing Hour. I was hosting it, and it was all about the buyer persona, and that you know, I was exhausted. I didn't finish till 2 o'clock this morning, and the whole thing about it. Well, I like the look of that. The whole thing about that is that people don't really understand their customers, and there was a very good slide you put up, Billy, with the steps in
buyer journey.
The buyer journey, yeah,
right.
And most businesses, they treat their customer with the same knowledge and the same concepts and ideas that they have. They forget what it's like not to know. And that's where stage one is. They don't know, and that's the whole problem. And I've had experiences with clients who've got a warehouse full of product, and the categorization of those products on their website is exactly the way it's laid out inside the warehouse. And the only person who understands why things are where they are is the warehouseman. Okay, and so when you get on the website, you think, why is that in here? This should be in that category. And the reason why is because there was a space on the shelf on the day that stuff arrived, and it put it there. So then it got put in that, it was logged in like that on the computer system. It made no logical sense. So we had to go through a whole process of card sorting and categorization and card sorting. And once we finished, people could find things on the website much more easily. And that's the important thing is that customer journey. And the experience that the customer has. It doesn't have to be, hey, John, you're going to love this stuff. Come to our website and buy it. It's more like, hey, John, you're trying to do this at the moment because you've left us a message. Can I suggest you go and look at this page or these pages, or look through our catalog, and you might find the things that you need. And then he goes there and he can find it very easily. And this is the whole essence of good customer experience. It's about stimulating, but knowing where that person is on the journey, and writing a content as they progress through the journey. They get more information as they progress through the journey. Their thoughts, needs, desires, wants, and purpose changes, and you've got to know what that change is to write the different content to hit people at different stages of the journey. Okay, I don't want to take over the whole talk because it's yours, Billy, not mine. So how does that sound to you anyway?
Yeah, no, definitely. You really got to be able to lead people along that journey, because they're at step one, and you're you're either 2 steps ahead or you're past that and you have succeeded. Now you're just trying to help those come along, but you can't speak to them as though they're at the point where they understand and they've learned everything that you have. That's just, they aren't there yet, and you have to really be able to message and meet them where they are at. So it's very key to do that.
Brilliant. Sorry, I don't want to be the only one talking here.
No, I love this. This is, it's okay. And I think the chat, when I was part of Nigel's chat yesterday on Twitter, and it's the only one that I actually do, because I'm kind of an anti-Twitter guy, but the manufacturing groups out there, it's such a helpful and informative group that I follow it up. So every Thursday at 1 Central time, CST, the Twitter world lights up with USA MFG Hour. And it's all people talking about good stuff with manufacturing, marketing, and just kind of helping businesses grow that are manufacturers. So it's super cool. But yeah, would love to hear more from other folks too. And especially as we chat through, I promised folks that I will shut down the recording at about this time. So if you have things that you would like to talk about, but you don't want it to be recorded, why don't you go ahead and raise your hand, or just say, yeah, let's shut her down, and then we can go. But otherwise, I think I'm having a lot of fun, and I wouldn't want the folks that are watching this afterward, because about 3 times as many people watch after as they do live. It's just the way Fridays work. So if we have stuff that we can keep chatting about, cool, but would love to give folks an opportunity to really open up all the questions. So Molly wants to go offline after hours on office hours. So I'll take that as our vote to do so. Cool. So if cool, let me just do one quick thing and give a promo for Dr. Rachel DuPaul, who is speaking next Friday. And Rachel's going to be talking about mindset shifts needed from corporate to independent work, emotions that come up, how to take care of yourself through the journey, and more. So if you're a fractional executive or someone that's either in a very small organization or a solopreneur, I would definitely encourage you to sign up and check in. I'm going to try to be there, but I might actually be on a plane at that time. So it might just be John that's running this puppy. And if that's the case, I'll miss you all, but I'll be back in a couple of weeks, because Adam Ellard is coming up on March 25th. And Adam, I don't know if you want to give yourself a promo for 2 weeks from now, but we're going to talk about Take This Job and Don't Shove It with Adam Ellard. So thanks, guys. And having said that, I'm just going to stop the recording, and then we're going to have open office hours where everybody can say whatever the F they want, and then we'll go from there. So thanks, everybody. If you're watching this as a recording, we'll see you next time. And for everybody that's with us still, hang on. We're going to keep chatting.